That was very nice of Rick. This is actually part 2 of the story, but part 1, all you need to know is I dated a woman for 6 months, and she told me the second worst thing I think a woman could say. She said, "I'm married," after 6 months, and a week in St. Martin's. It was kind of sad, but life goes on. But anyway, 3 months went by, and in April I got a text that I'd like to read to you. You'll figure out quickly who it's from. It's F you, bitch. And because we're across the street from Harvard, I'm taking it for granted you know what the F is. F you, bitch. F you, bitch. F you, bitch. F you, bitch. And F you, bitch. Please call 617-524-9276. And I sort of like chuckled and said, must be a friend or something. I didn't notice the number. So I just put it away. And 2 hours later, the phone rang, and I never pick up the phone if I don't recognize the number, but for some reason I picked it up, and this is what I heard. "I'm going to kill you within 2 weeks." Kind of weird to say. And then the next thing that was said was, "Is this Stephen McConnell?" And I went, "Shouldn't you ask that first?" And then the guy says, "I haven't decided whether or not I'm going to blow your head off or let you die a very slow death." And I went, "Well, if I have a choice, I'd rather you just blow my head off and get it over with." And then he said, "Are you sleeping with my wife?" And I said, "No, and I can explain to you." And then he hung up on me, because I would have told him the story. I slept with her for 6 months, and it was like unbelievable sex. We took pictures on St. Martin's. I would have told him the whole story. But for some reason, he didn't want to hear the story. I think it's a nice story, and someday I'll put it in the biography. But anyways, hourly by hourly, I started getting messages on my voicemail on how I was going to be killed. And this went on for like 2 weeks. "I'm going to blow your head off." Not too original. The next one was, "I'm going to slice your body in 200 places. You'll die of bleeding." And I'm like, well, it's pretty creative, but in my opinion, there's no way he came up with that. I mean, that had to come out of a book or a movie. And then finally, after 2 weeks, I pick up the phone and he goes, "I know where you live." And I said, "I know where you live because I've been fucking your wife for 6 months and I'm on my way over." Like he broke me. The son of a bitch won and he broke me. So I got into my car and I went over to his house and I rang the doorbell. And the next thing I knew was I was thrown to the ground and handcuffed by the Brookline police. And literally like thrown to the ground, and then I was picked up and they go, "Do you have your gun on you?" And I went, 1 and 1 is 2. They checked me out before I got here. This guy set me up and did a really good job at it. I go, "No, I don't have my gun on me. I'm licensed to carry a gun." They go, "Is it in the car?" I go, "No." They go, "Can we check the car?" I go, "Check whatever you want." Because I was pissed off. I said, "Check whatever you want." So they checked the car, they didn't find the gun. The cop goes, "Here, tell me the story." I just showed him the one about "fuck you, bitch." I said, "Here, this has been going on for 2 weeks. He threatened to kill me over 100 times. And the next thing, 2 other Brookline cop cars pull up. Now there's 6 cops there looking over me. A detective goes upstairs to interview the guy who started this whole fucking thing, comes down with the guy in handcuffs. The guy looks at me, the detective looks at me and says, "Do you want him arrested?" And I went, "Me?" And he goes, "Yeah, do you want this guy arrested?" And then the guy started crying, and he goes, "I've lost my wife, I don't even know how to get hold of her." I'm like, "Oh, I'll give you a phone number." his life is in total ruins. He goes, I'm gonna lose my job if I get arrested. He goes, I've lost my wife. So I made the moral decision. I had him arrested. But the end of the story is the next morning, his wife calls me and says, Steve, I'm sorry about what happened last night. Would you like to meet for coffee? No, I never met her. Back to Rick Jenkins.